Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive is going to be pretty interesting, I think. We're going to be talking about how people are using AI to make history videos on YouTube.
Yeah, these super popular history videos you see.
Exactly. And it all comes from this guide we found. It's a Spanish language text file.
Yeah, basically a how-to.
Yeah, how to, exactly.
Like how to make viral AI history videos to monetize.
That's it. That's the one.
To make money.
Yeah, so it profiles these two YouTubers who've been using these methods.
Yeah.
And they've gotten like over 200,000 subscribers.
Yeah, in just 5 months.
5 months. It's crazy.
It's wild. And the views are,
Millions.
Billions and millions of views.
Yeah, and they're making some serious bank, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like one of them is making between $1,900 and $30,000 a month.
Per month.
Yeah, the other one's making somewhere between $5,400 and $87,000.
Wait, okay, so clearly something's working here. So let's break down what tools they're actually using.
So the big ones here are ChatGPT for writing the scripts.
Mm-hmm.
For visuals, they're using Midjourney or Leonardo, and then 11 Labs for that AI voiceover. And to put it all together, they're using CapCut for the video editing.
I've heard of like one or two of those. It sounds pretty complicated, though.
It's actually not too bad. The guide goes into how they use ChatGPT for more than just like brainstorming topics, which they do, but they also write the full scripts with it. For example, they were brainstorming ideas about Greek mythology, and ChatGPT suggested the Judgment of Paris. Another example, they were looking at doing something with historical figures from the 15th century, and they ended up landing on Elizabeth Barton.
Elizabeth Barton. I don't think I've ever heard of her.
Well, buckle up. Her story is, well, it's something. She was like this holy woman who had visions, became super famous.
Really?
Yeah, and she even made this big prediction about King Henry VIII.
Ooh, that's got to be risky business back then.
Yeah.
Especially with Henry VIII.
Yeah, right. The guide goes into how she predicted what would happen to Henry VIII if he divorced his wife, which, of course, is what he was trying to do.
And Henry VIII, he wasn't really known for taking criticism very well.
Nope, not at all. So the guide says that she was accused of, having affairs with priests, and they labeled her as mentally ill. They even tortured her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty tragic ending to her story.
It is. I can see why they'd pick it, though. It's a pretty compelling story.
Exactly.
So they got ChatGPT writing this super dramatic script about Elizabeth Barton. What's the next step?
So then they go back to ChatGPT. They use it to make these really specific prompts for Midjourney to create the images for the video. And they actually share the entire structure they use for the prompts.
What kind of stuff are they putting in there?
Oh, everything. Like the characters, a super detailed description of each of them, the historical era, the clothing they're wearing, the location, what's happening in the scene, the background, the camera angle they want, and even the style they want it to have.
That's a lot.
It is, but it really gives them a lot of control over the final product.
Yeah, I bet. They've definitely got that dramatic part nailed down with Elizabeth Barton's story.
Oh, yeah.
I'm guessing with AI, though, things don't always go exactly as planned, even with something that's detailed.
That's true. The guide does mention some things they struggled with. Like they said they had a really hard time getting Midjourney to create convincing gates of hell images. So they had to go in and fix those manually.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they also use a program called Upscale, which makes the images even better, like way more crisp and detailed.
So they've got the script, they've got all these awesome images. What do they do to bring the story to life?
Well, that's where 11 Labs comes in. They use that to do the voiceover. The guide even mentioned that there's like an 80% discount for the first month.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah. And they also mentioned how 11 Labs has just tons of different voices to choose from, so they can really find the perfect one for their historical narrator.
I bet that makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's when it all starts coming together, taking those still images and turning them into an actual story you can watch and listen to. It's amazing, though. Like, they don't just stop there.
Yeah.
They use CapCut. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a video editing program, and they really use it to polish up the video, like add in special effects, transitions.
Oh, cool.
Even add animation to some of the images, sound effects.
So they really are trying to make it like a full experience.
Yeah, exactly. All those little things that make it really dynamic and interesting to watch.
It's cool how they're taking something that could be, I don't know, like a boring history lesson and making it really exciting.
Yeah, totally.
What about music? Are they using music too?
Yeah, they talk about how important it is to use royalty-free music. They even mention this specific YouTube channel that gives away free music. That's perfect for these kinds of videos.
That's really cool that they're like giving back to the community while making their videos.
Yeah, and the channel is really cool because they're really clear about how to credit the creators properly. So it's a win-win.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about subtitles? Do they mention anything about subtitles?
Yeah, so they use CapCut. It has this cool feature for auto captioning.
Okay.
And they use that to make those animated subtitles you see a lot nowadays. Not only does it make the content accessible, but it just adds another layer of interest.
It's wild how much goes into making these videos,
Yeah, when you really break it down, it's a lot.
especially for something that seems so simple when you just watch it.
Exactly. And remember, the goal here is to, like the guide says, to monetize this.
Oh, right. Right back to the title. So how are they actually making money off of these videos?
So they talk about a couple things, like using short form videos, like the ones you see on YouTube Shorts or TikTok, to kind of tease people
Okay.
and get them to watch the longer videos on their main channel.
That's smart. Kind of like a movie trailer or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
And then they also talk about promoting things on their homepage, like affiliate links or merchandise or digital products they've made.
So they're not just making videos, they're like building a whole business.
Yeah, it's a really good example of how people are using AI not only to make good content, but also to make a living.
It really is amazing how much they're able to do with just these AI tools. It's like having a whole film crew at your fingertips.
Yeah, it's pretty wild when you think about it. It definitely makes it a lot easier to create content than it used to be. But it also makes you think about the potential impact all this could have. Like, what does it mean for history?
What do you mean?
Well, if AI can make these super realistic videos, could it end up changing how we see history?
Like we only see the most interesting or exciting stories.
Exactly. Like, what if it ends up prioritizing the most visually spectacular stories, even if they're not the most important ones?
That's interesting. Like a kind of Hollywood version of history.
Yeah, potentially. And that could mean that all those really important but maybe less exciting events just get left behind.
You know, it's funny thinking back to those examples from the guide.
The Judgment of Paris. And,
Yeah, and Elizabeth Barton. Those are both such visual stories.
Totally. I mean, can you imagine what those videos must look like?
I know. All those epic scenes with the goddesses or Elizabeth Barton having her visions.
Oh, yeah.
But then it makes you wonder, right?
About.
Well, like, what if that's all we end up seeing? Just the stories that look really cool.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
Like, what happens to the stories that are important, but maybe not as visually impressive?
That's a good point. It's kind of like, will AI just end up telling the most sensational stories?
Right. Like, what if we only get the Hollywood version of history?
And that could end up changing how we understand the past.
Yeah, we might miss out on a lot of important stuff.
Totally. It's important to remember that history is not just about kings and queens or battles. It's about regular people, too.
Yeah, it's about social movements, cultural changes, all those things.
Exactly. And those things are important, too.
So how do we make sure AI doesn't just focus on the big, flashy stories? How do we make sure those other stories get told, too?
Well, that's where historians and educators come in. AI can be a great tool, but it can't do everything.
Right.
We still need people to guide the AI, to make sure it's accurate, to put things in context.
So it's really about AI and humans working together.
Exactly. It's about using the best of both worlds.
AI to help us find and create, and humans to make sure it's all making sense.
And that it's balanced and accurate.
Makes sense.
It's important to remember that history is complicated. There are so many different perspectives.
And interpretations.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so interesting.
This whole thing has really got me thinking.
Me too. It's really fascinating to think about how AI is going to change things. Like how we learn about history, how we teach it.
It feels like it's going to be a pretty big change.
Yeah, and it's up to us to make sure we're using it in the right way.
So we don't lose sight of what's really important.
Exactly. Like critical thinking, asking the right questions, doing our own research.
Yeah, because history isn't just about what happened a long time ago. It's about what we do with that information now.
How it shapes who we are.
This has been a really awesome deep dive.
Yeah, I've learned a lot.
It's clear that AI is going to be a big part of our lives, so we need to make sure we're using it responsibly.
We need to be smart about it, do our own research, stay informed.
It's the future of information, and it's in our hands to shape it.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.